is. We are here. You know what I was thinking? A Texas fan and a Texas Tech fan sit down for a conversation. Dun dun dun.
It's just like Texas coaching school this weekend. There were Sarkisian and McGuire were next to each other, and
Of
no
course.
knives were involved. It was beautiful.
No. Da, da, da. Yeah, I know. Anyways, well, welcome everybody back to my college football series. Well, this year I am talking to the teams that I believe are going to impact college football the most. Even if these teams win or lose, it's going to impact college football because it's going to be interesting if some of these teams lose when they're supposed to win. So obviously, we are talking about all things Texas Tech today, and I'm excited for this conversation because I feel like there's so many things happening right now with Tech. So I'm very interested to see like what you're thinking, how you're feeling before the season kicks off. So if this is your first episode, you've either missed a ton or you haven't missed a ton because I never know how I'm going to release them. So I always say that. But I will stop talking and I will let Ryan introduce himself. This is your second year back with me. So I
Yeah.
wasn't too terrible the first time. So that's amazing. But if you just want to
See,
introduce yourself,
I was
whatever
just
you want us
glad.
to know.
I was just glad to get invited back. Doing media reminds me of dating back in the day. That
Mm,
I went on a lot of first dates.
yeah.
Second dates, not so much. So sometimes you do interviews and you're like, oh, they never called me back. I don't know what I did, but yeah, I'm
Yeah. Was
happy to
that
be here.
bad? Yeah. No,
And
I'm
we
like that
finally
too.
finally get to talk some football. And this is an interesting Texas Tech team. They are your odds-on favorite to win the Big 12. And I'll say this right now, back to your setup. If they are not in the Big 12 title game, that is a huge disappointment, and I would say a failure for this year's Texas Tech team, given their talent and their schedule. If they're in the Big 12 title game, then they would obviously be heavily in the mix, I would think, to be a, let's just say, top 8 national seed going into the playoffs. So if this team is what we think it's going to be, then it better be a playoff contention team.
Yeah. What is the biggest storyline surrounding your team? We're going to leave Sorsby where he's not on the team.
Yeah.
Besides that, and besides McGuire and Coach Sark, whatevering, what is the biggest story you feel like surrounding this team this year? Because I feel like last year it was like, okay, prove it. We know you spent the
Yeah.
money. What are you going to do with it? But now, what do you think it is?
It's a little bit of the part two from last year on can you get a bunch of transfers in and get them playing well together quickly?
Okay.
They did that certainly last year on defense. They've had to retool, and we can talk about that as we go through with a lot of losses in the front seven. They went out and got some
Mm-hmm.
good talent. How quickly can they play together? And then you're breaking in a new quarterback in Will Hammond. He was your projected starter for this year until he got hurt late last year against Oklahoma State. Over the weekend, Joey McGuire telling the audience there at the coaches' school that he's good to go week one. That's massive. A lot of people wondered, would he even be ready for the Big 12 opener in week 3 against Houston?
Okay.
That if he gets to play a couple of quarters against ACU and Oregon State, you feel pretty good about that. So I think that's
Yeah.
the on the field X's and O's storyline. New quarterback, a lot of new defensive people.
Hi there. If you haven't already, double check and make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. Make sure that you hit the like button. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. And lastly, for this series, every single person that I'm going to talk to has a social media presence. So make sure that you go into the description, you find their social media platforms, and you find them wherever you can find them on any social media platform. And as always, I will let you get back to your video. Yeah, for sure. So, what do you think the biggest strength then is going to be this year? Like, obviously, last year it was all defense all the time, in my opinion, which was shocking. I don't know about you, but I was like,
Yeah.
Texas Tech plays defense. Okay, welcome, guys. So, what do you think the biggest strength is?
It's still built around defense with complementary football on the offense. And that's
Okay.
where it's got to be that defensive front. And they brought in a ton of transfers like Trey White out of San Diego State on one edge. You've got Adam Trick coming in out of Miami, Ohio on another one. And then I got to look at it because I got to use my eye chart pronunciation. Mateen Iberra from Wake Forest. We're just going to call him Big Mateen and
Okay.
go with that. That you put him over there at the nose tackle with A.J. Holmes returning. You got to hope that that front can, if not generate pressure the way it did last year with David Bailey, who went, number 2 overall to the Jets, Romello Height, who's with San Francisco now. I mean, you had 2 NFL players on your front, defensive front. Do you have that this year? And if you drop down a little bit, have you upgraded in the back end and the secondary enough and even just hold steady at the linebacker spot. You've got Ben Roberts returning, and they get in Austin Romaine, who was all Big 12 linebacker at Kansas State, trying to replace Jacob Rodriguez, which I don't know that you really replace a Rodriguez. You just got to maintain. But that front seven's got to be the heart and soul of this football team, and I think dictate terms on how games are going to be played.
Okay. When you're looking at this team, is there anything that you think you guys might be better at this year than you were last year? I didn't prepare you for this, but I'm just wondering, is there anything that you're kind of thinking, you know what, this group actually has the potential to be better than what we saw last year?
2 spots offensively. One, the offensive line. You kind of tinkered around the edges and added just a little bit of talent, but you've got several guys coming back with experience that I think that means more at the offensive line spot than maybe anything else on a football team. Older, wiser, stronger. You had a freshman in Jacob Ponton who started every game at right tackle. I expect him to be better. Howard Sampson on the left tackle, again, coming back. You get your center back, and they went in and got Jordan Church out of Louisville with high-level conference starting experience. So I'm expecting that offensive line to be better. I think they'll be better at the run block. The pass protection, I think last year was pretty good. The run blocking at times, the running backs had to do it on their own. And then the other thing that may surprise people is the receiving corps. They tried to upgrade significantly the ability to blow the top off the defense with some speed, with some size. Then you bring back Terrence Carter Jr., one of the top tight ends in college football, and the much talked about waiting to see what he'll do, former 5-star recruit Micah Hudson.
Yeah.
This guy, he can do everything. He just hadn't done it in a game yet. And I think you've got a quarterback in Will Hammond who can get him the football downfield and make a difference with him. So I think the biggest surprises might be a better offensive line and a receiving corps that's deeper, faster.
Okay. I love it. I love that. Is there anything that's concerning you or like a weakness or just something that you're looking at the team and you're kind of like, oh, I hope we can cover that one up?
Yeah, I think last year one of those things was penalties. The team, particularly in the red zone, they had – and this doesn't sound a lot, but when you factor it in per games and in certain moments, they had 13 red zone penalties that backed them up from a 1st and goal situation to all of a sudden it's 1st and 15, 1st and 20. That was turning touchdowns into field goals, field goals into nothing. Their red zone, while the pure number looked okay statistically, when it mattered at times, that was something. They've got to clean up the pre-snap penalties on this team. The secondary still concerns me. That they brought in a couple of new players. They really like their free safety, Brendan Jordan and Peyton Morgan, who, if he's a safety, he's got to be a ball hawk safety, which I don't know what that means, but apparently it's good if you're a ball hawker. I think the secondary is going to be one that if you're not getting to the quarterback the way you did last year, that teams may be able to pick on that secondary a little bit more if they've got to cover another 2 to 2 seconds downfield. So that would be kind of my primary concerns. The other thing is, and this is something Texas Tech is not familiar with, you got to play with a target on your back now.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Every week, people want to beat you, whether it's Big 12 or otherwise, because it's going to be good for their record. It's going to be good for their, I still use RPI or whatever we want to call it, their computer number. And just the flat out fact that in the Big 12, a lot of schools just don't like Texas Tech right now.
Yeah. Congratulations to you all for not being liked in the conference.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing. Embrace it, enjoy it. I mean, hey, everybody loved Kansas football for years and years and years because it's like, what do we play them? Oh, there's a W,
Yeah, we love y'all. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope the fans are embracing it. I hope the team is embracing it.
That's what I tell Texas fans, like right now, because I feel like, it's very clickbaity to use Texas for anything, whether you say Arch Manning or best team in college football. You can say whatever. It's going to trigger people. And Texas fans, I'm like, guys, enjoy this. Hello. Like, love on this. This is the moment. We are shining.
You want to be in that conversation. Yes. You want to be the New York Yankees or the Dallas Cowboys or the fill-in-the-blank NBA team at a given moment that you're at once polarizing because a lot of people are going to love you. And if a lot of people love you, a lot of people are going to hate you. Absolutely. And that's sports hate. That's not personal. That's sports hate. And that's what you want. If that's not happening, you don't really matter and you're not compelling.
Right. You're not as good as you think you are. Because,
Yeah.
this time of the year, everybody thinks their team is, the best
Yeah.
team and everybody's gotten better. Everyone's going to be better. And so it's
Yeah.
like some teams aren't even getting talked about. So like, let's wake up, people. So no, I love that. And shout out to Texas Tech. Like, I think playing with a chip on or playing with a bullseye on your back is a lot different than playing to
Yep.
prove people right. Now you're playing because everybody wants to literally beat you as bad as they possibly can. So
Yeah.
best foot forward every week. So, what is one thing people outside of the fan base misunderstands about Texas Tech that you're thinking like, we don't get enough credit for this, or we don't talk about this enough when it comes to who we are and what we really do?
Yeah, I think it may go back to some of the transition that, not you and not this audience, but there's some people that still think it's the air raid offense, that it's the Mike
Yeah,
Leach throw it 70 times a game. And that's really not what it is. It is now a
yeah,
defensive first, control, dictate tempo. And then what Joey McGuire likes to call it complementary offensive football, where you are having some extended drives, where you are a run, if not run first, a team that runs well enough that you must respect it. You must come up and bring those safeties up, and that you can use play action passes, you can use RPOs, and you can do that. But it's based off the ability to run the football. And I'm not saying Texas Tech doesn't still throw it around, but I think there's still that perception, and that may even go to some more of the Big 12, that the Big 12 has become a much more run oriented
100.
defensive league over the last 7 or 8 years than it certainly was in the wild offensive heyday of like 2008 to 2018. Just random assignation of dates right there. So I think maybe it's the outsiders looking in that will be surprised. Wow, Texas Tech really runs the football a lot. They got 3 really good running backs.
Yeah. Yeah. Very valid. It's funny how football just changes, transitions, moves and ebbs and flows, and then who keeps up and then who's still playing old school the way it used to be.
Yeah.
So that is actually a really good point, because that was something I noticed about Texas Tech this year. Was like, I was like, wait a minute, this looks different and it feels different and it feels slower. And I like slower because I feel like you can control slower better than you can like, we have to hit the targets because we have to score the points. So okay, that's a really good call out. Do you have a bold prediction for this team this year? Besides, like, we're going to win the Natty. Is there anything that you're thinking in your mind that you're like, because I think that's kind of everybody's bold thing right now, because it's like everybody can say it. But is there anything that you're looking at this team and you're like, you know what, we are going to whatever that thing is?
Yeah, I don't think it's too bold right now to say that Tech will probably exceed the win expectation out there in Vegas of 10 and a half games. So I really think 11 is. With the schedule and everything else, 11 is very doable. But how about this? I do believe that at some point in late December, early January, Texas Tech will be on a football field against either Texas or Texas A&M. That those 3 teams will put themselves into position, and that playoff committee will not miss the opportunity to have any combination of that out there on a field. It would be dripping with obviously interstate rivalries. The national eyes would be on it. So that's my bold prediction, that somehow, some way, because we see them do it in the NCAA basketball tournament all the time. They manipulate those brackets and they go, oh, look, this coach left this school and now he's coming, Tech, Texas, Tech A&M sometime in the playoffs.
Could I just say something, and you'll probably appreciate this? One of the reasons, like, whenever Sark was saying everything he was about Texas Tech, I kept telling people, I'm like, you guys, I get it. It's football, it's trash, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of this is storylines. A lot of this is Sark kind of building up some enemies, because how do you keep out this loud rah 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 team with all these teams that are in? Like, I want to see that loud team come play some of these teams. Like, a lot of this is like politicking, for your position, because you never know when that one thing you said that pissed off everyone is going to be the one thing that allows you to go somewhere that you didn't know you needed to go. So I like it.
Yeah, I thought both coaches, both sides of that, not argument, but both sides of that storyline about playing a non-con game knew what they were doing and what they were getting out of it. And Texas Tech, you know that game's not going to happen, but hey, you put it out there and say, all right, they're ducking us, and then with Sark, it's just part of his personality is to make sure that Texas is constantly in the discussion in some form or fashion. The old any PR is good PR. And it at a dead time, in the spring, early summer, it really kept both schools, I think, at the forefront in different manners. But it's that ability of Sarkisian on a recruiting side to go back into a house and say, see, everybody talks about us. Everybody wants to play us.
That's it.
Do you want to go to the team that everybody wants to play, or do you want to go to the team, that is trying to play out? So it works for both sides.
Yeah. I for one loved it. And I for one, yeah, I was just like, ooh, I love when this happens. Like this is like
Yeah.
that forethought of like the politician side of college football coaches that I tell people if you don't have it, you're not going to last very long. So cool.
Well, and we got to a point in college athletics over the last 25, 30 years where it has become so corporate that coaches are afraid to have personalities. A lot of them. They're afraid to say anything. They're afraid they don't want to be on social media. They don't want to turn into a meme. So they just button up and get nothing, which, I'm old enough, to go back into even to the late 70s, certainly through the 80s, when coaches hated each other, when Barry Switzer hated, Texas and wore a beat Texas hat on the sidelines, not an OU hat, would say anything. When Steve Spurrier, would just absolutely troll the University of Tennessee and talk about how, the Tennessee library burned down and it was a shame because not all the books had been colored in yet. We lost that over the last 25 years. And I think we're starting to get a few of those coaches back that realize that even though we've got millions and even, I guess, billions now on the TV front at stake, we can still have some fun, right? We can still make this enjoyable. Otherwise, why are we doing it?
Yeah. And give your guys that edge.
Yeah.
Like give your players that little no,
and let your players have some personality.
Yeah.
Let your players be a little bit out there. If some guy says something that turns into bulletin board material, that's okay.
Yeah.
No bulletin boards ever won a game.
That period. And defend it. Go defend it. You said it, now go defend it.
Yeah, exactly. Write the check, cash the check.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's get to some of these fun questions. So, okay, besides Texas Tech, is there any program this year that you're interested in watching this season? And what would be that team for you?
I think Big 12 wise, it's going to be BYU again. That Kalani Sitake has really put together, I think, not just a team, a program. And I won't be shocked if it's Tech and BYU again in the Big 12 title game. But they're doing it right out there, and they're putting some things together. Then you kind of look around and go, can Houston elevate and build off what they've done? They need to. That program should be in the mix, given the recruiting base that they have. And now with their big donor, Nelson Fertitta. Did I get that right? I think I got it right.
I don't know if it's I know the Fertitta brothers.
That they're getting that money in that maybe they had been afraid to expend on a program before that they just didn't think it would matter that much.
Yeah.
So I'm really intrigued to see that. And then we'll keep it in state, in TCU with Hoover going to Indiana.
I love
what Sonny Dykes going to do there in the Metroplex to try to remain relevant with a rising SMU team there in the ACC that was certainly right there in the mix last year, and they've got a potential Heisman Trophy candidate. So there's, just keeping it in the Lone Star State. That's kind of, a few of the ones that I'm intrigued by going into this year.
Okay, good. Oh God, Texas football is so interesting. And you know what I mean when I say that. Like there's just so much that happens within the state of Texas, whether it's high school, then whether it's the college teams competing, and then there's like the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans. That's a whole different like conversation. So it's just always a battle, I feel like, with some of these schools trying to find who's the hierarchy. I mean, I think we all think we know who the hierarchy is most times, but then other times it's kind of like, I don't know. The SMU TCU one is a really, really good one that I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about enough. So, and then you have the Baylor with Lagway now going to Baylor. So that's interesting too.
And all of a sudden, Dave Aranda could be coaching for his job,
right?
After just that huge hot start there in Waco after Matt Rule leaves. That's turned a little bit. DJ Lagway is going to be the story for the Bears. And they had a pretty good quarterback last year in Sawyer Robertson, who ends up now with the Las Vegas Raiders, I think. Is that? Yeah, I think that's right. I think he ended up with the Las Vegas Raiders in the quarterback room there with your Heisman Trophy winner.
And Cousins.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. So, okay, every team has like one. If you could trade if you could take any player from any team and just take them from that team and plop them on your team, and you feel like you would just have a peace of mind and you'd be like, all right, we're so good there. What one player would you still and plop on this Texas Tech team?
Okay, I'm going to give you, I can't give you a name because I'm not sure who it would be, but I would say if you could give me the best kicker in the country, the most consistent, under pressure, best kicker, if you could give me that on my college football team, I would take that every day. And Tech, I don't think is deficient in that area, but
Yeah.
that if you give me the greatest kicker that can turn nothing into three, like we watch with the Dallas Cowboys every weekend.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's
seriously.
that's what I would add to my football team.
Okay. That's a good one. I don't know. It's funny because I feel like, was it Georgia's kicker last year? One of the somebody's kicker last year I feel like was it Georgia or Ole Miss's kicker?
I think it was Ole Miss kicker had the huge kick there in the playoffs.
Okay. One of them, I think, on those two teams was like pretty automatic. I know the kickoff guy from Georgia was like one of the best ones.
Yeah.
But I thought they had, because I just remember evaluating those teams and I was like, the one thing we don't talk about, and it was the kicker. I think it was either Georgia or Ole Miss last year.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's back this year.
Lucas Camarillo. Sorry, I had to look it up here.
From where?
And then the returning Lou Groza guy, I believe, is Oklahoma's Tate Sandell. So okay, there's some kickers. Okay. But just give me like kicker X. Me.
Yeah.
Kicker X who's great.
Okay.
So I don't have to ever worry about that because coaches lose sleep over kickers. Coaches hate liquored up kickers.
Seriously. Yeah. Me too. I'm stressed. I'm stressed. So I've been there, done that. I've had, yeah. Anyways, let's just leave that where it's at. So, okay. What 3 words do you hope define the season this year? No winning, no championship, but what 3 words would you say? You can do 3 words. You can do a 3-word sentence, like whatever you choose. What 3 words would you say you hope define the season this year?
I think if you can give these 3 words to it, I think that they'll probably have a good year. Consistent, disciplined, aggressive.
Yeah. Aggressive. I like it.
This program needs to be the one that from, sick them to come here dictates terms to the other team. Good team, bad team, it doesn't matter. That from the moment the game starts, they need to establish a physical dominance that they now can over most teams, but also a mental dominance that just beats teams down and says, you're not going to have it today. We're not going to let you hang around and you don't have a puncher's chance. Just hate life early, get on the bus at halftime and go home.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Well, is there any game this year where you're thinking, if we lose, right? Like if we have to take one loss, it just can't be them. It just cannot be this team on our schedule. We cannot lose to them. Who would that be for you this season?
Cincinnati.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest. If you guys lose to Cincinnati,
so many reasons.
If you guys lose to Cincinnati, I am literally going to text you and be like, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah, like, that would be on so many different levels. Any loss at any time, anywhere would be bad.
I love that. So before we end, I have one thing. How is McGuire as a coach? Is he an aggressive coach? Is he like, how do you feel like from where you sit when you watch him every game? What would you say his style of coaching? I can't get a feel for it. I don't watch Texas Tech as much as you do, but like, what would you say his, you know what I mean? Like, what is his thing? What is his style?
He is a restrained gambling coach. His first year, he was really high on the analytics, and he went for it in situations that I thought there was no reason to do it at that moment. He kind of has brought that back down, so now it's really situational. But he will go for the jugular, and he gives his offensive coordinator Mac Leftwich a lot of latitude on how they want to handle that. And then defensively, it's get after the quarterback and punish the quarterback. But from a game management standpoint, I would say he's one of the more aggressive coaches, that he really trusts the players to go make plays, that he will put them in a situation knowing that if it doesn't work, then the defense comes out and bails out the offense, or vice versa. And I think the players respect that, because on one hand you go, okay, well, this could put us in a bad spot, but then he believes in us so much that you respond to that. But he has kind of calmed down a little bit of going for it on 4th and 20 at his own 20-yard line. We kind of got over that year one. Not playing against Aledo or Liberty Hill anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and the expectations have gone up too. So
Yes.
sometimes with expectations, you're a little bit more squeezed. So you're
Yes,
like, is
I
this really worth
100%
it?
agree. 100% agree.
Awesome. Well, those were all the questions I have for you. I don't know. I don't you. I was gonna. I always people are always like, I had questions for you. You didn't ask me if I had questions for you. I'm like, there's nothing to ask me. All right. Like I'm a Texas fan. Like we have Arch Manning. We have Coach Sark. Like what could you possibly want me to? But some people do have questions for me. So if you have questions for me, I will answer any question that you have. And then if go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll give you one. I'll give you one on Texas that from
Okay.
afar, watching the trajectory of Arch Manning's career there,
Mm,
and coming in with so much hype, and people not necessarily understanding the level of high school competition he played against
correct.
before he got there, that there was almost no way I thought he could live up to the hype.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been tamped down a little bit now? Did he, over the last 8 games, 7 games last year, have they reached an equilibrium now, fan base expectation of who he is? A more fair
I
assessment.
Great question. So I think yes and no. So if you take out the outliers, right? The people
Right.
who will always think he sucks and the people who will always think he's fantastic, and you look at us in the middle, because I always like to play in the middle. We are aware that in order for Texas to be successful this year, Arch can't suck. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah,
But
that'd
we
be a good
also,
T-shirt.
yeah, but we also feel like even if Arch played just like he did the 8 games of the season, the rest of the team should be good enough to kind of
Yes.
uplift all of that. And so I look at Texas and I say, if Arch Manning plays out of his mind, amazing. If he plays like he did the last 8 games, amazing, because he's supposed to have the talent around him that will then elevate everything. That's how I look at it.
Agreed.
And I always say too, like, this is going to sound really terrible. Sorry if you're this person listening to this and you feel triggered. I can always tell a football fan by how they evaluate Arch Manning respectfully. Meaning, if you expected Arch to come in and you believed everything the media told you, where are your opinions? Like, where is your research in all of this? But if you understand, like, he was bad against Ohio State, but he continued to kind of grind it out and he continued to figure it out. That's what development actually looks like. And I know we like don't like to talk about it, but like that's the right way, So he's right where he's supposed to be. I mean, it was his first year as a starter. And I'm sorry, how many games did he lose as a starter? 3.
Yeah.
That's not terrible. That's just not terrible. So anyway, so that's how I feel personally. Those are my personal thoughts.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I will end with you. Thank you for always, being so lovely, joining me and being just like in the Texas Tech stuff. I mean, I see you tweet all kinds of stuff, even like during softball and during everything else. So I appreciate that. And then the other thing is too, I don't think I said this, but all of your information will be in the comment section or the description, so anybody can find you. And then me, I'll tweet it and all the things too. But I would love to I'll end with you. Anything you want to say as soon as you're done, we'll end. But thank you for being here. Thank you for being amazing. And thank you just for being a great time. You know what? Sometimes you do these with people and you're kind of like, all right, next question. All right, cool. We're done. So anything?
Yeah, no, I mean, this stuff is supposed to be fun. This is why I do this. I could be on a tractor right now, or I could be digging cows out of the mud. And I get to do this for a living. Are you kidding me? For almost 40 years, this is what I do. That's silly. So I want to thank you for just giving me an opportunity, to do what we do and create the content you're creating. I'm glad there are folks out there like you. And I hope we get to visit more during the season.
Yeah. Well, listen, when I always tell you, whenever you need me, you just let me know. I'll pop up.
There you go.
Thanks.